Chiefs Kingdom, welcome in to the latest episode of the AP Film Room on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube page. Although we are live Tuesday evening tonight on the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter page. So shout out to anybody joining us live tonight. A little later than usual, but later the better. A little late night ball talk is what I'm all about. I'm Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the site, and joining me, only half the gang that joins me usually. Nate that could not join us tonight, but my guy Caleb James at CJ Scoobs, always bringing this good stuff to the X's and O's. Caleb, what's going on tonight? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good after breaking down some of that film, looking through everything. This is our second show together of the week. I think last night we were kind of setting it up on a tee for what we're going to get into tonight.
Yeah, I know exactly. You're right. That was the audio version. We were kind of getting our initial thoughts out, but have dove into the X's and O's, the films, the all 22, the end zone angles now, and we got some official takes to talk through now. So yeah, we are talking about the Chiefs 27-20 win over the Vikings from Sunday afternoon. Just kind of a weird game to some extent, but we're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to get it going for us, Caleb, here. Because on offense, you've talked run game on this show for us quite a bit, and it's kind of had to carry the pass game right this year. But the pass game did have some moments on Sunday, and it came from a different a few different receivers. I think there was 10 different Chiefs receivers caught a pass on Sunday, and I just wanted to start out with the one guy that just seems to not be finding one of those impactful catches in the receiver room, and that's Sky Moore. Last year's second round pick, someone I was super high on going into the year in terms of someone that could, kind of replace that Juju Smith-Schuster role, be a possession receiver from the slot. And there's just, these different things that, he's doing that to an extent, but obviously not enough to be an impactful player, in a crowded room, in a room that needs someone to emerge. So I wanted to show this first example where, this is kind of a nitpicky thing, but at some point we just need to see Sky make a play, and I think he has an opportunity here. So you're going to see the Chiefs motion Kelsey around, but they're going to get this to a point where it's going to be an RPO inside zone look, a split zone run, or actually it's going to be they're pulling Tooney too. So it's actually going to be like a counter run look with an RPO read to it. Mahomes is going to be reading these Minnesota defenders, and they crash down. This linebacker crashes here, the outside linebacker, the safety here that's coming down in the box. He's obviously coming right here. Mahomes reads that. He knows. That's why he's pulling this. And look at what this creates. It gets Sky in a one-on-one in the open field with Justin Watson holding his block. Basically what this does is just give Sky a chance to make a play, make someone miss in the open field, which, at someone at his size, with his kind of testing numbers, his acceleration, you kind of wish he could make a play like this, right? You kind of wish he could make a guy miss, and do something here. You imagine a guy like Kadarius Toney, if he gets it in this situation, this might be a huge play. It could be a touchdown. He's making one guy miss, and that these guys have a long ways to come to kind of play, come to the backside and pursue. So, it's just one thing about Sky. It was kind of one just like bad taste in your mouth to get it going right out the bat, but then it was also kind of what you saw out of Rashee Rice, the rookie receiver, who is starting to do some things that we maybe thought we could see out of Sky Moore this year, right? And first, I wanted to start with his touchdown catch. It's a slot it's a slant from the slot, and it's man coverage, so he's gonna just have to beat this guy over him, which is Byron Murphy, the former Cardinals cornerback, a high draft pick at one point. And he just gets inside him, wins, and it gets available to Mahomes quickly and scores a touchdown. I mean, he just kind of he doesn't let him, beat him up with his hands. He doesn't let him get caught up. He just kind of fights through that pretty quick and scores a touchdown. Now, Mahomes in his press conference today on Tuesday mentioned that this was actually kind of a coverage they weren't expecting, I guess. The Vikings came out and kind of had a different look than they were expecting to have on a play like this in the red zone, but he credited Rashee Rice for adjusting, and so this is a cool adjustment for him. But Caleb, I'll bring you back in on this and just what you've seen out of Rashee Rice. But my thing here is like, is this not a play that you should expect Sky Moore to be making? And if Rashee Rice can do this, then where does Sky, kind of earn those reps over Rashee Rice, I guess?
It's getting harder for them to put him on the field, and we kind of touched a little bit on it yesterday, but like they don't have time to like let guys develop. That slant play, that's like something we saw a lot from Sky at Western Michigan. I think it kind of
Right.
fired people up because I mean, the Chiefs, they really hadn't used a lot of slants in their offense. Last year with Juju, that was kind of what he did well. So I think we kind of thought this year going into it, we're like, okay, Sky, good at beating man coverage. He's probably going to be the guy that runs some slants because, there's routes to be open in the middle of the field when teams are playing those like loose boxes. There's just less bodies. So if a guy can win on an inside release, it's going to be there, but we're not really seeing him get in. You're also seeing Rashee Rice, and I don't know if you heard Mahomes on the, you could hear him on the field after they score the touchdown. It sounds like he said that's a big boy catch, and it really
Yes,
is a
sir.
big boy catch by Rashee Rice because he has the nice inside release. He does know there's a high safety there also. He's going to be going into a couple of guys that are going to be looking to close that down, like Harrison Smith and the other safety, they're going to be closing that down a lot quicker than it looks. He knows he's going to have to eat some contact on that one, but he still hauls it in and makes a catch. Then they celebrate. You hear Mahomes say that. I'm not one of the people that I'm going to like just kill Sky for no reason on that kind of stuff. I'm like, I do think there are instances that show up where he is open and for whatever reason, he's just not getting the ball. But it's like, if Mahomes is preferring Rice, it's like, whose side do you want to be on here? Kind of, because it's like, in the end, if Mahomes is more comfortable with Rice, they're going to keep going to him over more. And I think we'll probably see Rice's targets and snaps increase as we continue along here.
Right. And here's just another example of something that, I just kind of expected us to see more out of Sky this year. But, you just mentioned it, Caleb. How many times do we see Sky have a route similar to this? He's breaking over the middle. He's coming open just similar to this. And he just doesn't get the ball thrown to him because Mahomes just, for whatever reason, just doesn't look comfortable firing off to Sky. But when it's Rashee, it's no problem. He steps up, and this is what I like about it. And again, something that I thought we'd see from Sky is the catch radius. Sky has shorter arms. He's not the biggest receiver, but he has big hands, right? And so I thought, hey, that's going to come in handy as he has to be a target for Mahomes. But Rashee obviously has a bigger catch radius, just physically, but shows off some good hands here. And he's had the drops, right? But drops are so volatile and something that's going to get better for him. It's good to see him have the kind of physical skill set, at least, in terms of having the length and kind of to have the catch radius over the middle so Mahomes can trust him, kind of in tight windows, maybe, in kind of certain situations. Did want to show Justin Ross's catch, though, because as we're talking about this receiver room shaking out, it was cool to see the Chiefs design a play to get him a big chunk gain. Justin Ross actually talked about it in his press conference today, that the Chiefs were kind of, Andy told them all week, hey, we're getting this for you. We're getting this for you. And what they do here to create it is they're going to start an empty set, but they're going to motion Kadarius Toney all the way around to the other side in an orbit motion. And what that's going to do is create a 4-by-1 set. So now you have 4 receivers on one side of the formation. The defense has to adjust for that, has to account for that. And the one guy on the isolated side is Justin Ross, right? And so, of course, this safety, Harrison Smith back here, he isn't a too high setting, so he should be able to close this out pretty good. But when there's 4 receivers to one side, you have to respect that to an extent, and you have to see that Toney might just be getting a quick pass here. You're going to have your attention, your eyes here for the time being. That's just enough to create a window in the cover 2 hole right here. That hitting that hole right in there with Justin Ross. Just a perfect throw, perfect reception, great catch. I love how up Justin Ross gets. You see it in the end zone angle a little more, but like it was cool to see this kind of catch because he got up. Like he was floating up there for a second to get that. Great play from Justin Ross. Cool to see him get involved to an extent a little more than we've seen. But there were also, some learning moments for both him and Rashee Rice on Sunday. And I'll start with Rashee Rice's, and Mahomes talked about this in his press conference today again, which it's cool to get these kind of early week press conferences because we usually don't get some of these answers until maybe Wednesday or Thursday after we've done the AP film room. But he talked about on this play, and I should let it play and kind of explain it first. So you see Rashee Rice running the post. Once he gets to the defender, he kind of hesitates, right? That zone defender, that safety right there. He is cutting off the post. So in Rashee's mind, maybe he's saying, look, well, maybe I need to adjust my route so I can get available for Pat. I shouldn't just blindly run into the safety. He's cutting me off. But what Pat does is anticipate, sees the safety with his back turned, and you just kind of trust that Rashee can keep going into the back of the end zone and catch this for a touchdown. It almost works, but Rashee hesitates, obviously. What Mahomes said in his press conference, though, was kind of cool to hear. Just kind of said, look, like he shouldn't have made that play. Like it's not something we've taught him. It's just it's something that a veteran would have made. It would have been a veteran like move for him to make. But now he's seen that in the game. Now he's felt that in a game. He's felt that rep. It's not going to be too long till they get on the same page in a play like this and hook up, and that's going to be pretty special if it happens sooner than later. So like just even getting close on this and Rashee getting this in a live game, and I'll finish on this too. Mahomes trusting him, to throw this here when he's never throwing this to Sky. He's not throwing Sky more a post when he's not open at all and not creating any separation. That's kind of the cool note to me here, is that Mahomes is truly trusting Rashee to way more than some of the other receivers we're seeing. And so I think it is noteworthy to that point. And then the Justin Ross one, he has the drop here, which, decent route and everything. I think he just, it's all a little sped up for him. I think he just, the game just needs to slow down for him a little bit. I think he just kind of needs to calm down at the top of his route here and just kind of let the ball come to him, and he kind of, I think he just kind of, he's a little, happy feet at the top, ball's coming to him, lets it come into his body. The youngins are learning, but the Rashee Rice play I think was cool, because I think that's an example of Mahomes really trusting him already and wanting to give him those opportunities to learn. But I did want to shout out, as we're talking about the receivers, the fact that Justin Watson might be this team's primary deep threat over MVS at this point. And there was a few examples to me that showed that, and I'm going to pull them up here before I dish it to you to talk defense, Caleb, because the thing is, on these two big plays here, we have the one Justin Watson on 3rd and 18. He makes the catch over the safety. The significant thing to me is MVS and Justin Watson are both on the field. One of them, though, is running the short decoy route, kind of just for nothing, right? Just kind of a check down route on a 3rd and 18. Watson's the one running an actual route, the one that is actually going to be thrown to if this team wants to convert the first down. So it's cool to see Watson be that guy, makes a great play, makes him call for it. And I know you could say, hey, look, MVS is the more known receiver. It may make more sense for him to be the decoy guy and let Watson, because Watson won't have as much attention on him. Well, at some point, though, if Watson's going to continue to make these plays, where again here on another big play down the field, MVS is the shorter route, kind of not really going to be considered. Watson's the one running deeper and makes the great catch. To me, it's becoming clear that Mahomes wants to throw to Watson way more than he would want to throw to MVS down the field. And I think the team is starting to reflect that in the way they're calling the plays and who's running those pass patterns. And MVS is starting to be an all-timer for wasted steps in his routes. Him and Sky are really burning the steps, burning the miles without getting much production there. But any last final thoughts on the receiver room, Caleb, before I let you talk about the defense?
If there's one thing that this year has proven, it's that Mahomes is so much more of a comfort and feel quarterback than I think we had initially thought. Like, obviously, when it's, just the onslaught that was 18 to 21, it's like, well, of course he's going to those guys. But as, you start to see, Kelsey goes down, you really start to see, well, who's he comfortable with? He's comfortable with Justin Watson, and he's going to go to who he's familiar with, as opposed to someone who he's not quite, even though, they've spent the same amount of time in the offense together, kind of like how the deal is with Sky. But on the flip side of that, where he is, like you see, very comfortable with Watson, and people spent all offseason debating ways to get him off the roster. And I'm like, well, he's a part of the circle of trust. Like, even last year, he went to Watson in situations where you just wouldn't anticipate it. He completed some big passes to him, and I think a part of it on MVS is people kind of are expecting him to go deep. They got to come up with different ways to maybe get get him going out there. Watson's kind of been nice because you can run some of those decoy routes with MVS, but they'll be probably keying in on Watson here shortly, so they will need MVS to step up into it. I think the big takeaway, though, with Rice is just there's some natural chemistry there. There's some, natural connection. No, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that East Texas connect somehow. They got something going on there, the SMU deal, who knows? But they do seem pretty natural together.
Yeah, shout out Christian Sandy, Rasheed, they exclaimed on Facebook. I mean, we all are excited about Rasheed right now. He's making us excited. But it's time to talk defense, Caleb, and it really was, the storyline of the year really has been the defense. It's just Mahomes is always, we're always going to talk offense, primarily. But Drew Tranquil, guys like that stepping up. I know he's kind of your highlight for this game. So take it away. Tell us about how the defense played.
This game was tailor-made for a guy like Tranquil because we really got to see his full skill set because the Vikings take advantage of things that, some linebackers don't do well. Like they run a lot of outside zone when they do run the ball. They have an extremely athletic, elite pass catching tight end, TJ Hawkinson. But I felt like this was the game. We got tastes of it the last couple of weeks for some bad offenses. But this week was like when you go out there and saw Tranquil play, you were like, yeah, he's born to play in this game. And let's hop into it now. And I thought the thing that was most impressive overall was his coverage ability. And the reason I thought that was more or less just because, it is an area where the Chiefs have struggled for a while to find, a play, a linebacker that can do that. And here we go. We'll pop up in here. But let's just take a look at the first play. And Hawkinson's lined up kind of in a little, all around the line there. He comes in motion. Everyone kind of bumps over, but watch, Cousins is going to fake this pump. And then he's going to look back to try to go to Hawkinson deep over the field. Now, what you'll see from Tranquil, he's lined up there right on the hash. He reads it right away because you see where Jefferson is up there. They're trying to give him the pump. They're trying to get everyone to bite so they can pull Hawkinson over the top. But watch Tranquil just kind of cut down some of that space and really, he sees it right off the bat. He takes away the initial read, and then Cousins just has to go back underneath. McDuffie makes a nice grab there. And we'll show it again in the coverage. And this play is also nice because you see the motion over. It's going to take him over, when their other tight end is there. And Hawkinson is still kind of in the middle there. But you'll watch, even though he is pulled even further to the opposite side of the field, I mean, you'll see kind of Cousins is on the space that got opened up because of that motion, and he's going to try to dump the ball in between Cook and Tranquil. But watch how quick Tranquil gets over there, and he doesn't get his head around. But look, I mean, dude, he's so fast getting over here. Like, the Chiefs don't have another linebacker on their roster that can make this play right here. And, even though he doesn't get his head around, he's right there. He's affecting Hawkinson's ability to concentrate on the ball. You'll see it really good from the end zone view here. You're going to see the motion. He goes over even further, but he sees it. He knows where they want to get the ball to, and he just cuts down that space. He is all over him. And then here on this play, I thought this was extremely impressive because he's walked up on the line of scrimmage. Spaggers is getting ready to heat someone up. No one really knows where. Cousins doesn't really know where. The pressure is going to end up coming off the left, but that means Tranquil is going to have to drop all the way. You see where Tranquil is on the right. He's like right over the B gap on the right side. And now he's going to have to drop to a player who was in the slot, and he almost gets there just in time to maybe even tip the ball away. He doesn't really get his head around again. But, I mean, just being able to have a guy like that does unlock a lot of what Spags can do because he can bring different blitzes from angles with people, with players that you wouldn't expect to see coming because he does have this athlete here who can make plays. And they did a good job of shutting down Hawkinson. They knew he was the other guy they had to shut down. And really, you see Mike Dana with a good pass rush here. Tranquil, he's going to do that all day. Like, if you give him a chance to just, if you're just going to check the ball down to your running back out of the backfield, he's going to smoke these guys all day on stuff like that, like he does here. The other big area I thought he was nice in, Minnesota couldn't really establish too much with their run game, and he was there to cut it down. Look how far, I mean, look how wide he is lined up compared to where this play is going to go. I mean, this is like a mid zone to almost an outside zone look that gets cut back by the Vikings, but you see Tranquil pre-snap. He's barely in the tackle box. He looks like he's more lined up to cover Hawkinson in the slot. He's right there on the hash, and you see how far the play stretches out and how much ground he has to cover. If Madison could cut that back a little bit quicker, it's going to be an even bigger play, but he just does a good job to cover a lot of space quickly. Very good lateral mover. I think we'll go ahead and just skip through that because we already saw. But he does just kind of come out of nowhere here. Like, you see how if he was a step slower, they could have gotten something a little bit bigger out of that. And then, they try to run the little jet sweep flip pass. Tranquil has probably seen this a time or two at practice, I would assume. And he cuts down on it quickly, takes away. Because a lot of the times when like Kadarius Toney scored on that last year, or even like McCole Hardman did last season as well, when he was not in trade rumors with the Chiefs, the play opens up, and I'll pause. You can see that all that space opened up to the inside. That's where they get a lot of the flow back and cut from. So that was just a good job by him to identify that, tackle an athlete in space. That's the one thing, like why I said he's tailor-made, is the Vikings have a ton of weapons to where you have to have athletic players across the field. Like, I saw Leo Chenal's reps decrease this week, and people were talking about that. That doesn't really shock me all that much, considering what Minnesota wants to do. Willie Gay got a little bump also. It all balances out. And then just Minnesota's, balanced up here. They're going to try to attack the short side of the field where they think they have the number advantage on blocking, but Tranquil just gets lateral, does a good job of working over the top of the blocks, stops Madison. They couldn't really get any pace or tempo going with their run game. A lot of that was because they wanted to try to challenge and kind of stretch the Chiefs out. The Chiefs are in that odd front here again. But even though it does look like the Vikings have like the angle battle, but just because of where the Chiefs are aligned at, Tranquil, he's looking at that B gap first, but he realizes he's got to bump out even one more. I mean, that's fluid. That is smooth run defense right there. I mean, just lateral agility, sideline to sideline. Great play right there. There's not a whole lot else to say about this performance by him. I mean, he led the team in tackles, and even though he did that, I still think his impact in coverage was also just as great.
Yeah, you mentioned like the smoothness and how, just how swift he's moving. That last play was really, a really good example in the run defense, but you're showing the one where he carried the tight end, Hawkinson up the field quickly and kind of took it away. You mentioned no other linebacker on the team being able to do that. You're right. Like, I think some may like wince at that and say, oh, well, Willie's athletic. Willie could carry that, no, Willie, a lot of times, that would get him pretty good. Willie might have gotten too wide there and tight end streaking down the field, going on that. Willie's pretty undisciplined a lot of times, how he drops and kind of how well he's able to kind of pick up vertical routes, going down the field. He's much better going, forward, attacking stuff to the flats and upfield. I'm with you, man. Drew's been super impressive the last couple weeks. The Jets game, I actually highlighted it last week in the AP film room. The catches, they just came down with the catches. Hawkinson could have made a couple of those catches, right? But it's about making them hard, making them tough. And especially on that one where he was at the opposite A gap and sunk all the way under Hawkinson on the out route. Like, Cousins had to throw that high. He had to throw that outside and high, like, because if he threw that regularly, Tranquil could have, maybe had a chance to close in on it. So
yeah,
definitely impressive performance.
And, speed at linebacker is great and it's good, but if you don't know what you're doing with it or you're out of position, then it can come back to hurt you just as much as if you didn't have the speed to begin with, because that's where teams will start to take advantage of you. When you have speed combined with like an extremely high football IQ, like I know when Nick Bolton comes back, there's going to be like the faction of Chiefs Kingdom that wants to find a way to divide it. I'm like, this is a really good problem to have. You have possibly the best Mike linebacker tandem in the NFL. I mean, you have like Bolton in there, and I do think Tranquil could have been a little bit better this week against some of the downhill up the middle run stuff. He's a converted safety from when he was high school, early days at Notre Dame. Now he's just a freak athlete at Mike linebacker. But I mean, nickel dime defenses, he's going to be the guy in there, I'd say, moving forward. And it's going to be a really good problem to have when Bolton does come back.
Yeah, no, I agree. We talked about it on the podcast that, hey, is it panic button for Nick Bolton? Like, is he just going to get Wally pipped? Everyone loves to say, the old, Joe DiMaggio was it? I think that took his job, or Lou Gehrig, one of them. But Mike Brennan on Facebook commented, shout out to you for watching. He said Edwards is a nice surprise, talking about the defense. Mike Edwards, the defensive back. Well, what do you know? We are going to be talking about how the defensive backfield played as well, because the linebackers set the tone, I think. I think the front seven set the tone for a lot of this. Actually, you know what? I'll reverse that, Caleb. I don't know. Maybe I want your take here before we get going, but I think the DB set the tone, and the rest of the defense kind of, filled in for kind of took advantage of how the DB set the play. What do you think about that?
I think it's fair to say the DBs did set the tone this week, just because, I mean, even though Chris Jones did have another sack, you still didn't get that production from anyone else, and they made it harder to get pressure back there on Cousins. I wasn't really like thrilled with that, but I mean, you see the effort from Snead, McDuffie, Edwards, all these guys flying around. It's like, yeah, these guys did set the tone this week.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing it right now. I'm showing some of the clips of L'Jarius Sneed being very physical at the line of scrimmage with Justin Jefferson. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, I tweeted out a stat showing just how well L'Jarius Sneed has played statistically against wide receiver ones the last 4 weeks. He has not allowed any of the receivers he's faced the last 4 weeks have more than 32 receiving yards. I think 3 catches the most he's allowed. And it's because of stuff like this. Now, I just showed you two reps of him jamming. The second one was actually the penalty, but it's not about those individual snaps where he's jamming. It's about what it does throughout the entire game. You're getting in Justin Jefferson's head. You're making him tired. You're making him work. And it's going to end up in him dropping a pass at some point because he's so frustrated coming out of a break because you're riding him that entire time up the field, right? This is what L'Jarius needs at physicality and aggression is doing. And I love this example here because I just think it's a great one. I mean, Justin Jefferson, has to work through that all game, and it's hard. L'Jarius Sneed is a long corner with build to him. He is a big dude. We've seen him play basically linebacker for this team for most of his career, playing outside linebacker in the slot a lot of the times. He can do it because he's so physical, he's so strong. But he was not the only one that had to cover Justin Jefferson on Sunday. Shout out Trent McDuffie. He also did a great job when he was locked into him when they did put Jefferson into the slot, because they weren't moving Snead into the slot just for those matchups necessarily. They were trusting McDuffie to stay with him at times. Here you see, Cousins doesn't need to go to him because Joshua Williams slips on the turf here and allows Jordan Addison to get loose. But, you're going to see Trent McDuffie, here on Jefferson, just have good, kind of on the inside hip, kind of just, making sure he can't get anything, coming back in, and he can always close on stuff going out. So it's good positioning there. You're going to see it here again in a similar fashion where he's got that inside tracking, but he doesn't let that outside movement, take away his positioning, right? It's easy, Jefferson, an elite receiver like that, maybe you overreact to that movement right there. You try to close off, try to get underneath that out route that he's going on, and boom, all of a sudden you're vacating this zone back here. No, McDuffie stays with it, stays patient. Obviously has help from Edwards here. It's a good job by the Chiefs defense to kind of bracket Jefferson here, make it hard on Kirk Cousins. He is looking Jefferson's way initially, looking, can't find him, has to go somewhere else. And this play doesn't get complete here. So, and then here's the best example, and we're finally getting to the comment here on Mike Edwards, because this is a great play by Mike Edwards. You're going to see where he starts out here on the play. He's all the way past the opposite hash. You're going to get man coverage across the board because Brian Cook's coming up here, so it's just a one high look. Cousins thinks he's going to have a chance here with Jefferson. McDuffie's got good, really good positioning here, right? But hey, we've seen McDuffie get mossed, right? It's just McDuffie's not the longest guy. He's not going to break up passes at the catch point all the time, but he's going to be in your pocket, and he sure is right here. But Mike Edwards comes over and helps him here, almost gets the interception. Mike Edwards and Spags talked about it today. So if you're wanting more Mike Edwards, go listen to what Spags said, because he said, "Hey, we've been working him in, but we got to work him in even more because he's making plays. He's a ball hawk, and this is a ball hawk kind of play. Reading Cousins' eyes, understanding that this is Justin freaking Jefferson over here. He's probably going to want to go to him, so I'm going to bait him into thinking he has room, and then just coming all the way over, getting over, making the play. So shout out Mike Edwards. He's been a baller." And I will say, it should be at the sacrifice of a guy like Brian Cook, because we're not seeing Brian Cook. We haven't seen Brian Cook get over routes like this. And, that could be him saying, or, indicating that Brian Cook is not allowing those throws to even look like they're open. But Edwards is finding ways to make plays in limited snaps. I think Brian Cook could too, but I think it just tells you that Edwards is playing better right now. And I think you're going to maybe see that come to fruition at some point. And then I did have this blitz kind of early in the game where Spags just kind of went crazy, blitzed Snead and McDuffie on at the same play, and it just disrupted the timing of the play and didn't even allow Cousins on I think it's a 7-step drop too. Yeah, he just has no time to do anything. It's just completely throws him off, sending both guys. So shout out Spags, shout out the DBs. They played their butts off. How'd you feel about how the DBs played? And guess let's talk about Mike Edwards, because that was the comment from Mike Brennan here. Do you think he should be playing more? And is that kind of the, because if this defense doesn't have many wink leaks right now, and I guess the one, if you want to be nitpicky, is Brian Cook. So I mean, if Mike Edwards is going to give you better, like, this defense is ascending. It's on the up and up.
Yeah, I mean, I got to write about Edwards when they first signed him, and he's like in a similar situation Tranquil is. Mike Edwards made a lot of plays. He was kind of an underrated guy in Tampa. Has a lot of, like, he's intercepts passes. He scores touchdowns on defenses too. He has like these big momentum changing plays.
Yeah.
Just for whatever reason, they didn't quite value it enough to bring him back, and really no one else did. So he took probably a contract lesser than what he's worth to come compete for a chance to play on the Chiefs. I tell you what, man, he might be the best safety on the roster right now between Cook and Reed. He gets to the ball quickly, and it's another situation like similar to Tranquil also. It's like he feels like he's a much better fit for what the Chiefs want to do than what his old defense had him doing, because Tampa, like, they had him play so conservative a lot of the time, and that's not really like where he shined. Where he shines when he gets going downhill, or you can just like, they set that trap on Jefferson. It's like you got a long way to go, but if you can get there, you're going to have a chance to intercept the ball,
right?
Kind of like how he did there. So that's been great. And then, the corners, they've gone from, like, when Spags first got here, it felt like, when they had before Charvarius Ward kind of ascended into the player he is now for the 49ers, like a top end defensive back. It kind of felt like him and Bashaud Breeland were like the word to describe them is like pesky. Like, they held a lot, they caused problems. You're not going to beat them deep, but they'll throw the 15-yard holding call on you. But now the corners have evolved from that into just like this shutdown unit. And I think that should honestly terrify a lot of the other teams, what the Chiefs did just put out there on film, because they really just, if the pass rush can, step it back up, the way they just harassed the Vikings receivers all game with like physicality and just being sticky like McDuffie is, they've got a long ways. I mean, they could go a long ways just off of that kind of stuff alone.
Yeah, I think we're seeing this Chiefs defense have the best play from a cornerback group we've ever seen. I mean, this Chiefs defense has always relied on cornerbacks to just kind of, like you said, be pesky, just be physical at the line of scrimmage, play press well and rely on your safeties to kind of help you over the top, rely on the pass rush to kind of help you out. No, it's the cornerbacks doing a lot of the work right now. Shout out Trent McDuffie, shout out L'Jarius Sneed, shout out Jalen Watson, shout out Joshua Williams. They're all playing well right now, and so it's cool to see, cool to watch. It'll be fun to watch this defense continue to grow as the season goes on. There's only more challenges ahead. The Dolphins in a few weeks, the Chargers in a few weeks, the Eagles at some point, the Bills at some point. This defense has not been tested as much as they will be as the season goes on. So we're excited to break those games down as we get to them. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. If you are, make sure you check out the site at arrowheadpride.com where we have news every day. Caleb's got great film breakdowns every week, plus more stuff. I got film breakdowns as well as other articles, including 5 things to watch for the game. We got a quick week this week. We got a game in 2 days, so we'll be breaking down all the Chiefs Broncos stuff for you. Appreciate you watching tonight. Appreciate you following along, and we will catch you next time. Thank you.